Hello and welcome to this Advective weather video. Unfortunately, there is a tornado outbreak on the cards for tomorrow. We currently have a level 3 out of 5 risk from the Storm Prediction Center, and that includes the potential for strong, damaging tornadoes across Louisiana and Mississippi. That risk also extends into portions of eastern Texas, most of Arkansas, western Tennessee, and the western half of Alabama. But the primary focus is north central Louisiana and western Mississippi. However, it is possible that this risk could expand because the models seem to be expanding the scope of the event, and we'll just have to wait and see what the Storm Prediction Center makes of it tomorrow. But as it currently stands, this is the area in an enhanced risk. There are likely to be supercells, perhaps quite a few supercells, in an environment that favors tornadoes. This whole slight risk area will be favorable for tornadoes at some point or another during the event, and we can't rule out any tornadoes in the marginal risk area. These storms will also be capable of producing damaging winds and severe hail, so if a supercell is moving towards your location and it has a severe wind warning, just because it's not in a tornado warning doesn't mean you shouldn't take shelter. Now, of course, you should take some action to remind yourself of your tornado safety plan. It's been a few months since there's been a significant tornado outbreak in this part of the United States. And of course, make sure you have a reliable way to receive National Weather Service warnings. That means if the power goes out because a tornado or another storm has cut the power to your area by taking down the power lines, you need a way to get that warning if you don't have any mains power, which primarily means relying on batteries, so make sure your devices are charged up, but we'll go through that more later. Here's the overview. You can see there's a low moving through Arkansas, with a warm front lifting north across Mississippi and a cold front sweeping through eastern Texas. This cold front will have some supercells along it, but there are likely to be prefrontal supercells as well. You'll see that in a moment with the HRRR. Zooming in a bit, we can see the areas that are in the primary risk area. For Louisiana, that's Natchitoches, Ruston, Monroe, Alexandria, Fort Polk, but you can't rule out the threat for significant tornadoes in Shreveport, Baton Rouge, Hammond, Lafayette, or even Lake Charles, and places farther south such as New Iberia, Houma, New Orleans, and Slidell. Honestly, anywhere in Louisiana, except perhaps extreme southern coastal regions, is at risk of a tornado, and of course, with a strong low-level jet, there could be strong tornadoes in any supercell that manages to get itself going and take advantage of the environment. Moving on into Mississippi, Natchez, Vicksburg, Jackson, Macomb, and Hattiesburg, all in that enhanced risk. Meridian, and perhaps Greenwood and Starkville and Greenville in the slight risk at particular concern. The slight risk does extend down to Biloxi, but being right on the coast, I would have thought that tornadoes were slightly less likely. But obviously you can't rule out a waterspout coming on shore, and that could still produce some damage. Looking at the tornado threat in particular, you can see that large hatched 10% region, which makes up the entirety of the enhanced risk. Anywhere within that region, and of course outside that region, could see a strong tornado. And I will say that the environment is capable of producing storms stronger than a mere EF2. Can't rule out an EF3 or maybe even higher, but of course, all this means is at least EF2 tornadoes have a 10% chance of happening within this hatched risk area, somewhere within it. Now, of course, there could be a strong tornado on the opposite side of this. If you're in eastern Mississippi and there's only tornadoes in Louisiana, you may think, well, I might as well go to sleep, nothing's going to happen. But of course, the event can change, and you should be paying attention to it until the cold front comes through, which unfortunately be well into the night. We're expecting storms to clear through Louisiana after midnight, and they'll be remaining across southeastern portions of Mississippi for a couple more hours after that, and it'll still be going on into Alabama by the time the sun comes up, unfortunately. So, long night ahead for some people on Monday night. Here's the wind risk. As you can see, there's a 30% chance of damaging winds across eastern Louisiana and parts of Mississippi, including Jackson. This is not hatched at this time. The winds are expected from the storms, at least, just the downdraft winds, not tornadoes, expected to be below hurricane force in almost all cases. But again, this could change, and we'll let you know what the Storm Prediction Center's best forecast tomorrow with their updates. Finally, hail is going to be in some of the storms, but it's not expected to be the primary impact. Now, here's the HRRR model run I mentioned earlier. As you can see, the storms get going around midday across eastern Texas, and they gradually develop, they organize as the environment slowly matures, and then as we get into the evening hours after dark, that low-level jet ramps up, the storms get much more energy, much more spin in the atmosphere to use, and you can see those bean shapes, those curved shapes that are often associated with supercell thunderstorms. And you might notice that there are two lines of supercells forming in the HRRR. Around 0Z, which would be 7 p.m. Central Time, there is a line across Louisiana, across northwestern Louisiana, but there's also a second line across southeastern Louisiana. And the northwestern part is along the cold front. The southeastern part is those prefrontal supercells I mentioned, and they're likely to form along a confluence band. There would be plenty of confluence bands, I'm sure, tomorrow, but the fact the models are explicitly showing it and showing them to be quite strong is suggestive that there is a good chance of these prefrontal supercells, which unfortunately have the potential to be more discrete than cold front storms, and that means they have a better chance of producing tornadoes. We'll see if this becomes more confident tomorrow and the Storm Prediction Center raises or expands the probabilities, but for now, just something to be aware of. There will be 2 lines or more of storms tomorrow, so it's not just one area to focus on. Of course, I'm sure the talented local meteorologists will be paying attention to everything in your area, and if you're able to tune into one of them, even in the late hours of the night, they'll keep going as long as there's a threat to your area. And of course, as I've been talking about, this is going to be an overnight event. There could be damaging tornadoes after sunrise in some places in the eastern part of the risk area, but certainly up to midnight for New Orleans metro area and plenty of Mississippi. So you want to have your cell phone charged and have it so that it will wake you up if a if a warning is issued for your location. The watches should be issued before you go to bed, but if there's a tornado coming for your house, you damn well want to know that it's coming. So if you have a cell phone, or even better, a no-weather radio, make sure that it will wake you up. You want to have supplies near your bed, i.e. sturdy footwear that you can quickly put on so that you can get to your tornado safe place. You want to make sure everyone in your household knows where your safe place is and what you will do when you're going there. And of course, you want light to see by in case the power goes out. And once you're in that safe place, stay there until the all clear is given or the tornado has passed if you are unfortunately hit. Now, to be aware that just because it goes quiet doesn't mean it's over. Sometimes there can be very strong winds immediately behind a tornado. Storms are complex systems. Give it a few minutes to be safe. And hopefully emergency services will be with you as soon as possible. But ideally, the storms will all remain over countryside, and better safe than sorry. Lastly, I mentioned earlier that people may have moved into this region since the spring, and it has been quite a few months since we had a significant tornado outbreak in this part of the world. Now, long-time residents will be used to tornadoes. There have been tornadoes in this part of the US since people first moved into the area. Got to make sure that the new arrivals know what to do. So if you've got a friend or a family member who's not from a place where they frequently get tornadoes and they've moved into Louisiana, Mississippi, or indeed one of the other areas I mentioned, make sure they know what to do. Show them how they can get the National Weather Service tornado warnings. Show them where they could go. Give them some advice. If they have a basement, of course, that's good. Try to work out the best room in their house to shelter in if they don't have a basement. We have a video on our channel to help you with that if you want to use it. Of course, there's plenty of guides on the National Weather Service website as well. And lastly, make sure they know what to do when that tornado arrives, how they should safely but swiftly get to that safe place, and how they should be taking decisions to protect themselves during the event. Now, thank you very much for watching, and we hope you stay safe wherever you are, especially if you're in this tornado risk tomorrow. Goodbye.